I think one of the biggest kind of epidemics in amateur catching right now is we have kids on a knee, which is great, but they're not being taught how to catch on a knee. They're being placed on a knee and they're catching. That's just not going to work out. Like you've got to understand how to do it. And I'm not saying you have to have, you don't have to have all the answers, but man, you have to have some general knowledge and openness to learn as to why I'm doing what I'm doing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Backpick Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Thomas. Today's guest is Chase Woollenweber. Chase is an up-and-coming young catching coach in the Mariners organization. He dives into so much great catching stuff. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. The Backpick Podcast is brought to you by All Star Sporting Goods, who is revolutionizing catcher's gear for the modern-day catcher. If you're interested in a discount code, DM us on any major platform or shoot us an email at info@catchingacademy.com. All right, so obviously young in pro ball. You got into pro ball pretty young here, but give us the background before.
Yeah, so I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, played baseball growing up, obviously, and then ended up starting my college career at Tusculum University in Greenville, Tennessee, a Division II program. I spent 4 years there, had 1 year of eligibility left, and transferred to Georgia State in Atlanta, Georgia, where I finished my career there. So finished my playing career in Atlanta and then headed down to Statesboro, Georgia to start my coaching career as a graduate assistant at Georgia Southern. Spent 2 years there, finished there, and then had a brief stint, about a semester long, at a junior college in Oklahoma, Murray State Junior College. So spent a semester there, and then I've got this job with the Mariners last winter. So I'm going on year 2 with the Mariners as a minor league bench coach.
So talk a little bit about just being a young coach in pro ball. I think a lot of times, I think even back to my career where I first started coaching in college as a young kid and thought I knew everything, kind of more the this is how we do it. Now I look back at that and I'm like, man, that was crazy how stupid you were. But it's like, what is it like? You're a young kid, you come in working with professionals now. What's your kind of first plan of action with guys?
Well, first things first, the relationship has to start and has to begin to build in a direction where, that player can trust you. I think I've gotten asked this question before, and I try to act like the age doesn't exist. I try to act like it has no purpose, it has no meaning with what we're trying to accomplish together. So I need that player, first things first, to trust me right from the get-go. He's got to know that my intentions are right with him, and I'm here for him to serve him. And then as you move forward, after you build that trust, you can start to kind of unravel the layers back on the player and start to really get going development wise.
I love it. So you're in the Arizona League, so you're getting a lot of the younger guys, fresh to pro ball. What are you kind of implementing? And we'll kind of stick to catching stuff. Obviously, we're here, but you get catchers that are coming in. What is kind of your first order of business for these young guys?
Yeah, I mean, my first year in pro ball was awesome for me to learn how to simplify what I do. Every single one of my catchers was not from the United States, and every single one of my catchers spoke very minimal English. So it really forced me to break down kind of my process and the way I message things in a way that's really simple and in a way that these guys can digest and actually apply. So with my guys, it started with, and it always will for me, it starts with building the knowledge with them. I need them to understand what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. If I'm just sitting there telling them what to do constantly, they're never truly going to understand what it is they need to do. So from the beginning, I'm asking a ton of questions and I'm trying to build that foundation of knowledge on, hey, this is why we're getting in this setup, in this situation for you as an individual. Hey, this is why, we're glove loading to this spot, or whatever it may look like. It has to be individualized, and they have to understand, what purpose it serves.
So let's talk about setups a little bit. What are you? I mean, are you starting with a base of certain angles or philosophies in the setup with each guy?
I let them go. I let them go and I see what they get into and what their body does naturally, maybe what they've done in the past, and then I start to just look for those holes. I start to look for areas where they're being negatively impacted and maybe they're cutting themselves off and they have room for a little more. So I really like to be very hands off in the beginning, especially with a new guy. I want to learn the person. I want to learn his story. I want to learn what his background is and why he does what he does. I want to know why he ticks. So if I can kind of be hands off in the beginning, let them show me what they've been doing, maybe what's working, maybe sit down with them individually and say, "Why has this worked for you?" And get a better gauge on where they're at. I think that is super beneficial rather than coming in and me immediately cookie cuttering them like, "Hey, we're all gonna get in this setup and we're gonna do it this way." So once a few weeks go by and I get a better gauge on where they're at, then I start to make minor tweaks and try to explain to them the reason for the tweaks. Try to get them to understand, hey, this is why left knee down might give you a little more stability on a right-handed breaking ball or anything of that nature.
Talk about the glove load you brought up too. So obviously, I mean, I'm sure we're starting neutral with most, but are you a proponent of guys moving their glove loads to match the plane of pitches?
Depends on situation, depends on the individual, depends on who's on the mound, depends on the day. I don't like it from the sense of end all be all that I'm gonna do it every single time, but I think of it more as I need to create minor like kind of micro adjustments to help my adjustability with that guy. So, as we know, a lot of lefty arms cut their fastballs hard, right? Those are the ones that handcuff us inside the right-handed hitters. So, if I know that information and I know this guy is prone to do that consistently, I probably should manipulate my glove load in a way that helps me on that side of my body. Um, you know, if there's another guy that I know, man, he puts the ball wherever he wants it, he moves the ball consistently. He doesn't cut run, you know, bounce around with how his balls are moving. Then yeah, I can get comfortable and I can help myself in those areas. But as far as, making it an end all be all, I need to do it every pitch, every arm, every game. I don't think that's the most effective way just because there's too much variability and there's too many misfires and the misses are kind of too big.
You talked at I wasn't there sadly, but a couple years ago at KetcherCon, and I saw the clips. You talked a lot about misfires and kind of the chaos that comes with that. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the training environment that allows guys to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is probably my favorite topic in catching because this to me is catching. I feel like we're in a day and age where so many training environments are repeatable solutions. And what I mean by that is, if I'm hitting and I go into the cage and I turn on a 7-7-10 mini hack fastball, it might take me one round to get my timing down, but by the end of the second round, I'm probably going to be barreling balls to the back net pretty consistently. And that's a repeatable solution. I know the speed, I've now gotten the timing, I know basically where the ball is going to be, and I can repeat that over and over and over again. Well, the game doesn't require repeatable solutions out of us. The game requires us to solve problems and react and adjust. So I think training environments need to reflect that. They need to be difficult in a way where that player is not comfortable. He doesn't know what this pitch is exactly going to do. So I think the more we can train that adjustability piece with misfires, the better, because that's ultimately what we're going to see in the game. And I think that's what makes the best the best. I think that's what makes Bailey and Kirk so good is they can handle misfires and they can present more pitches than other catchers can. And if you can't present a pitch, you're making that decision really easy for an umpire. So ramping up the challenging part of your practice and making it difficult, making it uncomfortable, kind of like we're seeing on the offensive side in today's game, I think is equally applicable behind the plate.
So what are you doing? Like, what's a example of a situation that you're able to train more chaos than just to set the hack up and here's the pitch and go?
I'm cranking up wheels, I'm creating different spin, I'm using Marv balls, light flights, different weights, and I'm trying to get that ball to move a lot. We have obviously the luxury of some great resources in professional baseball. So we have the e-hack, the electronic hack, and we also have a Traject. So my catchers are catching off Traject consistently, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's a full projected screen of a pitcher who's going through their motion, and you can manipulate where the pitch is, pitch to pitch. You can manipulate what the pitch is doing. You can manipulate it all, so you can make it very game like in that sense. So I'm cranking up obviously pitch shape, but I'm also kind of creating some other external variables with multiple pitches, maybe a quick shot to an inside fastball and then immediate shot to an outside fastball right after that. Kind of training that reach and hold for a guy that maybe yanks one across the plate or anything like that. I think you can get creative with it, and if you can make the ball be unpredictable, that's when you'll start to see those results. And to go into another piece of this, bullpens and any type of live environment is going to be your best reps, especially when it comes to misfires. I think you see a lot of guys in the bullpen kind of lay off or not present balls um, very frequently that maybe do something they're not anticipating. Maybe a changeup cuts and he doesn't really hang with it, and you go, "Hey, what happened there?" And he goes, "Well, the changeup cut." And I'm like, "Well, the changeup's going to cut in the game too." You got to force a decision out of that umpire. So anytime you put on a glove, you should be trying to present the baseball if it's close to the zone. The habit of kind of just catching and not presenting something close because there was some variability or there was some uncomfortable aspects a part of it, then I don't see how that's going to translate well to a game.
I always get that with the kids. They're like, "Oh man, this pitch is like really inconsistent today," and I'm like, "Oh, like your pitchers?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess that's true."
Yeah, right. Like it's what it's going to look like in the game. Yeah.
What do you talk to me about the e-hack? I've never used it. Same idea. Is it pretty easy to like switch pitch by pitch?
Same idea. You can sequence really well, so you can go random, which obviously is not super effective for catchers
Catchers.
because they know what's coming. But you can sequence kind of like a pattern if you want to work on different pitch types, and you can change location, movement really easily just by toggling like a little bar on the screen. So it makes it a lot easier. You're not really cranking or doing anything that, excuse me, that might tip off the catcher. If they're looking at you, you can kind of shift stuff around. I love the Marv balls in the E-hack, man. Like it's just training that extreme end of the spectrum where things are really challenging, the ball's really moving, and it's difficult.
So the Marv balls, are they different weights?
Yeah, they're lighter than a baseball. They're actually covered in leather now, which it's like a baseball, has baseball seams. It feels like a baseball, it's just slightly lighter. Honestly, like I'll be flipping in the cages sometimes and I'll have a Marv ball in my hand, and I've flipped so many balls I don't even realize it's a Marv ball, but they are slightly lighter. I want to say they're probably around 4 ounces, maybe a little less than that, but they really move. They really move. And pairing that with a keyhole is probably my top favorite drill, just for pockets.
There you are.
You lose me for a
Uh,
second?
yeah. So are they all the same weight? Or they vary in weights too?
No, they're all the same weight,
Okay.
like by model. They don't vary in weight, but we'll use the light flight sometimes with the dimple balls, as well. Those kind of create a little bit more inconsistency. So like if I want a sinker that is going to sink every time and sink hard, I might use a Marv ball. But if I want a sinker that maybe is going to run, maybe is going to sink, might do a couple different things, then I'll probably use the dimple balls to just create that variability.
What other training tools do you use?
I mean, plyos, keyhole, Yeah, Plyo's keyhole and those balls are the meat and potatoes of what we're doing. I've hooked our guys up to a weight bar speed trainer that you can attach to your glove to kind of get a numerical value on glove speed. Just kind of in a like a exploratory way, like just see what it's like and see what numbers those guys pop up and see how they compare. And kind of want to do that again in spring training this year, and get a gauge on maybe how some of the higher level guys are. Because I just did them with our complex guys, but maybe get a gauge on some of the higher level guys and see how those numbers compare. Um, but glove speed's a big thing for us. We're trying to move the ball fast. Excuse me.
So those are just those, like, you'd hook to bars and do, like, hang cleans and, that kind of
Right,
thing where you're
right.
gauging speed.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and
yeah, no, go ahead.
and you just hook them to like a metal ramp, because they're magnet. Hook them to a metal ramp, put it below, like kind of right below your feet, maybe a little back. And then at first we were hooking it to like our wrist, but then we started to hook it to more of like the pocket of the glove. And it kind of worked a little better. And we were catching, balls off the machine with that on.
I love that because just even having some sort of any number, right? Like any
Right,
whether we don't know what the even if we don't know yet what the best is or whatever, it's the idea of just competing against ourselves with that.
right, right.
Yeah, I love that. Um, so when you talk about the speed of the glove, right? Obviously, there becomes some timing with that. How do you get guys to understand when timing is affecting the speed more than just trying to rip through that thing? I lose you? There you are.
Back. Dang it.
It's all right.
Yeah, it just dropped.
It does this. It's all good. We can
Oh,
edit it
okay.
out because
Okay.
I'm still going.
Okay. Sweet.
Um, I asked the question. I don't know if you answered it about timing as it pertains to the speed, and when you kind of need the guys to understand that there's rather than just rip it with speed, we do have to have the timing element there.
Yeah, I think I try to, I've gotten deep on this rabbit hole of the timing. Everybody wants to look at the timing as the approach to the ball, like when I'm making that approach to the ball from the bottom of my glove load. But oftentimes, man, more issues can happen before that that affect your timing. So I've gone super deep into the timing in which you put your target out, the timing in which you make your initial load has a ton of impact on your ability to be on time with the baseball. I've seen so many guys at the professional level be consistently late getting to their spots and then kind of throwing the adjustability piece, throwing the being able to handle misfires out of the window because I'm now late to my spot and I can't react, I can't adjust accordingly. So I think the speed part is important, but kind of like you hinted at, like the timing part is more important in the beginning. I have to understand what my limitations are, and I have to understand, what the timing should feel like for me before I can really start to like test test the other end of the spectrum of trying to move the ball as fast as I can. So it's not until I understand that for myself, timing wise, that I can go to the next step really of man, how fast can I really try to move this ball?
So you see guys being late too often with the pre-pitch?
Late down. Yes. So
Interesting.
it ends up being like a signal. I'm I maybe am a hair late getting my target out, and then all of a sudden this guy's rolling down the mound and I'm not getting to my spot. Now my definition of late might be a little different. I'm not married to this, but I'm a firm believer that being down quick, early, and holding allows for more adjustability than trying to sync up me being down on time and immediately coming back up, if that's making sense. So my belief behind this is, man, every guy that gets on the mound has a different windup, has a different leg time, has a different motion. All of these things are completely different. He has a different arm slot. different release, different height. All of these things are completely different. And now I'm going to try to be perfectly on time with all of these different guys. And it's going to run into issues. Same with the hitting piece, right? Like same on the hitting side. So my thing is, man, like I need to get my target out early. I need to be down early, and I need to just wait. I need to wait, hold tension at the bottom, and explode through the baseball. And I've found that it's helped guys really be able to react to misses. I mean, at the professional level, you're catching some pretty nasty stuff, and at the lower levels, man, they really don't know where it's going. So if I have to be ready to handle, 97 across the plate, when it's supposed to be inside, man, I better be in a position where I can react to both of those things pretty quickly.
So the toughest part for me when guys get down early, and obviously younger athletes, but is just there's like such an eagerness to like go that it
Mhm,
happens too early. Is there something you
mhm.
do to kind of train that patience of being like, all right, let's hold, see where this thing is first, and then go.
Just take a PVC pipe. Obviously, make sure you're the one with the PVC pipe and not another younger athlete. Take a PVC pipe, stand on his right, the catcher's right side, hold the PVC pipe on his glove at the bottom of his load. So take the timing piece of going target down out of it, get to the bottom of his load. The guy holds a ball in the top of the rail, so there's no timing as far as getting down involved. You're holding the PVC pipe on his glove, basically, and you want him to feel like he's trying to come up, like he's trying to come out of it. He's trying to make an approach, like feel that tension on the PVC pipe. And as the ball's coming in, this is where it takes, some skill and some trust. But as the ball's coming in, you're watching the ball. And when it gets close enough, like really close, you release the PVC pipe and it cuts out any time to do anything else. And I love this drill because, and I used it at Georgia Southern because it really showed them how much time they actually have. I'll never forget the first time I did it. They finished the drill and they were like, man, like I'm not waiting even close to the amount of time I actually have. Like that's actually how much time I have to make a move. Like that's insane. So that's a really easy drill to do. Like I said, I mean, and you can use Marv balls and dimple balls if you're scared that somebody's gonna get hurt, but it's a great way to show those guys kind of the limits. Dang it.
Good. I love that one in terms of getting them kind of showing them how much time they have. And I have such a hard time with patience more than anything else, especially with the younger ages. Like obviously we're doing a lot of super slow breaking balls, lobs, picks, even like lob to pick where they got to still wait and let it get there. Um, but we started just like really emphasizing like the move being forward first and working out to try to like alleviate the idea of like always having to be on time or be patient, right? So it's like at least if I'm a little early, like I'm still below the ball and I could still make a move. So like just comparing to like that first baseman making a pick is obviously going to go, forward, forward, for okay, there it is. Boom, I can go pick it. Is there any other drills like kind of on that aspect that you guys use in terms of that move?
Yeah, like it's another PVC drill. It's super similar to this one, except you just hold the PVC pipe kind of out in front of the guy, close to him, but off the ground. And it's just a great visual for that feeling of like I need to go down and out and then up. Like their glove is kind of working underneath and around that PVC pipe. It's just a great another way to like add a visual aid of where my glove needs to kind of go. And if they do make that move, that negative move upward into that bad space, it should hit the PVC pipe. So it should be kind of close to them, but enough where they can extend out underneath and they'll feel it if they get too vertical.
Yeah, we love that one actually. I
Yeah.
built a little
Oh,
PVC
perfect.
pipe
So
stand
just
because I mean I think that's like the difference is so funny because they look at that and they're like, "What the this is how am I gonna do it?" And then they just go rip and like first
yeah,
one pocket and they're like, "Oh dang, okay." And then a lot of picks. I mean, we fire picks at them off the machine, especially just to really challenge them to get forward and be aggressive, and like if I'm, you know, back here, obviously going to get smashed. Um, Talk a little bit about the load of the body a little bit more than just a glove now. So like what you're kind of trying to get them to do with their chest or their upper body to get loaded up to go out and get this thing.
This is another like this is another piece where I want them to really understand the why. I just think so many times guys see stuff happen and just try to replicate it, not understanding why they're doing it and not even really knowing if it works for them. Like it's got to work for you as an individual, and you are different than him. So, the body wise, I try to keep movements minimal. I try to create those angles if we can before the load, but I don't hate utilizing them with the load as well, whether that's just a slight weight shift to the outside or whatever that might be, or a weight shift forward or both. I think a lot of guys can benefit from those types of moves. I think it's just one of those things where you've got to understand, like I said, why is this helping you for that pitch? Okay, so if this is a hard right-handed breaking ball, man, like I'm talking like an 86, 87 mile an hour sweeper, and I know this thing's gonna be diving and sweeping off the plate. Like a lot of my guys will kind of load into that side, so now they have a lot of stability on their right side. They have more like kind of roots in the foundation, as I would call it, and they have just a little bit more to put force back into where that ball is trying to go. I think if you can understand those things and have a purpose behind it, I think they can be beneficial. Because the umpire's not watching you. Yeah, obviously, if you're making giant body moves, then yeah, that's an issue. But if you're moving slight weight shifts forward, side to side in your load, um, I think they can help guys out a lot.
So, talk a little bit. We don't talk too much about moving side to side. Talk a little bit about that, like, you know, how they're kind of moving laterally and then what might be the advantage for certain guys.
Yeah, I mean, for professional baseball, a lot of targeting is being done over the heart of the plate. And if you are over the heart of the plate, you are not going to win pitches on the edges like a catcher that is setting up on the black. That's just common knowledge. Guys that set up on the block are going to win more strikes on the edges. Um, and guys that set up down the middle are gonna struggle a little bit more on those edges. But also on the other side of that coin is the guy that sets up down the middle might be able to handle a misfire across the plate a little better now, because of his positioning. So a lot of the side to side moving we're doing is aiding that. It's helping that out. That gives us maybe shades us that much more to that side where we think that pitch is going to go, to help us a little bit on the edge. My example for that would be, a right-handed sinker. If I can shift just slightly to my left, it could help me on a sinker that really takes off into a righty and just give me a little more space to work with that ball. Um, so that's mostly the extent, and it's all of that movement is involved in the load. It's with the glove load, and you just got to be kind of creative in finding ways to get those guys to move. And when I say move, I mean it's literally like 2 inches. It's like a 2 inch shift of body weight that just helps me just that much more. It's not anything drastic or big.
And are you changing the angle? Like, were you talking about the angle of the chest a little bit in those moves?
I don't really think when I think angle, I don't think as much chest as I do hips. I think when I think angles, I think about cutting those angles off kind of with my lower body. Now my chest might move with that. I guess that just might be the way I think about it. But like if I'm thinking right-handed sweeper and I kind of, let's say I'm just left knee down and I kind of get that right foot more outward, forward, and sink into it, now all of a sudden my hips start to sink kind of around the axle of my body and create that angle a little bit. So I guess I'm trying to think about creating, for me, the most important piece of this is the stability you're creating in your lower half. How often do you see guys in right knee down just not have a ton behind the ball on a right-handed slider just because of the way their legs are set up. They just don't have like roots in the ground. They don't have that foundation to put force back into the baseball. So um I would say that those shifts do kind of implement slight angles, but they're not big. I don't really see them as being big shifts in angles or really trying to get side saddled or anything like that. It's more of like, hey man, I just want to be able to move like 2 inches to my left or right to like, so if he does black this one, I'm not going to lose it. And if he also does cut it across the plate, I can hang on to it as well because I'm still heavily in the middle of the plate. So
I love it. I think, the one thing, and I know that we always talk about, oh, the pros do it a certain way and at the younger ages, but like the best thing again that's happened as it's evolved down is like, the keeping strikes piece, which we've kind of always talked about, but it's like now in the big leagues we got all this stuff, and umpires are graded now, they're better. We really got to be more in the zone. The reality is like at the younger levels, we've been having guys, 10, 15 years ago, it's like set up outside. Like we want your chest on the black. And it's like, man, like we were trying to get this pitch off the plate. And the reality was we are giving up this much of the white, by
yeah,
doing that. Right. And that's the thing I
yeah,
like now is like those are great examples for us to be like, like watch TV. And then they'll go, well, the big leagues. I'm like, dude, what are your pitchers? Like,
it's not any different. Yeah,
no.
I mean, it's not any different. It's it's you gotta be in the zone, man, like, fixating on trying to win the pitch that's, a 2.5 percenter off the plate is, like you said, is completely hurting the other 98%, 97.5% that are right there in front of you. There's a great article on MLB about Patrick Bailey's kind of mindset, and how his mindset out of the hand is this pitch is going to be a strike. This pitch is going to be in the zone, and it's my job to keep it in the zone. I'm not going to get fixated on the fancy moves. I'm not going to get fixated on trying to do all the fancy stuff and win the pitch way off the plate. Like I don't care about that. I want the pitch that's inside the zone to be called a strike. I mean, like you said, we're seeing it now with professional umpires, man. They're really good and the buffer zone got smaller. So now we're seeing more strikes being called balls. Simply because of that. So I think that's a great way, like a great point to hit on is, man, just like the best catchers for me just keep strikes. They just keep strikes. Every ball that crosses that zone, whether it does what they were anticipating or doesn't, they're gonna make sure it's still a strike.
And even like, and again, I go down to like high school lower. It's like even your best pitchers, like none of them have command. Like they might have control, right? Like we have strike throwers, but it doesn't mean that they're commanding the pitch and where it's going to be, right? And like I can even think back to my career, and I didn't play, I only played through college, didn't play super high level. But like I can name on like maybe two or three guys that was like, I know this guy's going to hit this spot right now and I can be certain of it, right? I mean, there's like, a lot of times where it was like, yeah, I mean, I know it's probably going to be on this half of the plate, or, I kind of know it's going to be in this general area, but there was few guys that was like, oh, this is for sure. I can just like hang back here and this thing's going to pop the glove. Right. And now it's same thing, all this trickle down effect of, the big leagues are trying to throw harder, which trickles down to college. They're trying to throw harder, and high school they're trying to throw harder, and it's just becoming more and more. So that setup on the plate to me is super important, and it kind of leads us into. I want to ask you a little bit about extending into blocking and the same sort of idea of like prioritizing middle in terms of the block as well.
Yeah, I mean, the blocking piece as time goes on, to me, the glove becomes more and more of an asset. Like with what we're seeing today and what I've seen I feel like has worked. The glove is a huge piece. Like the days of obviously you can't pick behind the plate are long gone. If I get close enough and I'm good with my distance to the hitter, man, I will turn a lot of those balls into just short hop paddle stops. That will be zero stress, zero effort on me, and don't have a chance of hitting one angle on my body and going a different direction. Obviously, I'm not saying lean on it. You have to just lean on it to the extent that you feel comfortable with. Um, Certain guys will be great with the glove. You know, they'll be nails. And other guys will struggle a little bit more and will have to be more body centered. But I'm going to go back to it. You got to find what works for you.
Mhm.
You've got to find what you're good at as an individual, and and that just takes some awareness as a catcher. You know, if I'm 14 years old and man, I can't pick anything. I can't get my glove on anything. I've got to understand that maybe right now, man, I can't do that. I can't lean on it like that. Maybe when I'm 20 years old, I'll be able to, but right now I can't. So it's understanding you, and it's understanding how to not be stuck. It's understanding how to be able to move off of a knee. I think one of the biggest kind of epidemics in amateur catching right now is we have kids on a knee, which is great, but they're not being taught how to catch on a knee. They're being placed on a knee and they're catching, and I mean, that's just not gonna work out. Like you've got to understand how to do it. And I'm not saying you have to have, you don't have to have all the answers, but man, you have to have some general knowledge and openness to learn as to why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think at the lower levels, it's amazing the results you see when you start that because again, it's like we always go back, well, but those guys on TV, they're different, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but they're stronger, faster, they have more stability in their body. I mean, like when I got a 10-year-old, I'm like, we go from putting him on a knee, it's like, okay, his arm feels free, he's in control, he can do a lot. But like you said, and the evolution into the blocking on a knee down becomes the idea of like we have to know how to do it. And I think there's too many times guys, just immediately go, "Oh, I'm going to go knee down with runners on." It's like if we don't learn how to do this, or at least train ourselves to do it, it doesn't help. And then we get to you know, the middleman, which is well, I guess we're the middleman, but the coach kind of being like, "Oh, you can't block on a knee and you can't do whatever." And it's like, well, again, maybe you can't. Like, like we got to train it. We got to know if we can. He might be right. But, at the end of the day, we got to be results oriented in how we block.
Exactly. The limits have to be tested. You have to try new things. I think catching is one of the most trial and error things there is. I think at least once a week, I have one of my catchers just trying something new to try it, and I try to get them to understand that this doesn't mean we're constantly tinkering. This doesn't mean we're constantly looking for the answer, but you just never know what one cue or one little adjustment, what benefits could bring. So I'm always trying to get those guys to be open to change, open to trying new things, open to small things with their body, throwing off left knee down, throwing at a right knee down, throwing at a different setups. That's a great point, man. It's all trial and error.
Yeah, and I think I'm the same way. And it's like I'll see a drill or something, online or, something one of these guys posts and like that's cool. And I'll just run like all my high school guys will go through that drill in the groups, right? And it's like you'll see maybe 75% of them, it's like, ooh, that doesn't help them do nothing, right? But then 25% you're like, whoa, that was like an incredible feel for you, and I think that's what's great because that 25% changes every time because they're all different athletes. And I think we do get to speaking generally on like kind of youth coaching as a whole, just get too generic in terms of how everybody does things. And the reality is like, let's just be athletes and let them do what they do best.
Right. And the important piece with that is make sure they're aware of what purpose the drill is serving, right? Like, don't say we're going to do this today and then throw them back there. They do it. It's horrible. And you're like, well, that didn't work. No, like, hey guys, we're going to try this today. And here, why do you think ask the group, why do you think this drill could work? Or what purpose does this drill serve? I found so much power and we believe in this heavily as an organization, but there's so much power in asking questions as a coach rather than telling. Um, Making that person come to the answer with your guidance through questions is, in my opinion, significantly more powerful than me sitting here saying you need to do this. And I think it just creates more of ownership for that player to really buy in because in his brain, he came up with the answer himself. He generated this response and came up with this answer of why he's doing this. And now I feel like he's going to be a lot more convicted in what he's doing, that it's now coming from him.
Yeah, and I love progressing like drills into a feel too. It's like examples like, we love, Dr. Gallo and baseball flows, and we'll be like, hey, let's do some of these flow throw drills. And then it's like, all right, let's throw now. Like just create that feel now into your game like feel, to just help them feel, okay, that feels good. Now, okay, when you feel stagnant, let's go to that drill, dude, and warm ups, just in the outfield, warming up, do a few of these, get your body moving in a way that makes you feel a little better about it. And I think that's important is like understanding, you said it exactly right. What is the purpose of this drill?
Absolutely.
So give me a quick snippet on throwing. We're going a little bit long here, but give me some throwing and kind of the process of that, figuring out which stance we feel we throw best in on, are we using different pitches and what are we doing to train that?
We I would say the big pieces is you gotta understand the player. What type of arm has he been gifted with? Is this a guy that can get away with a slow transfer and let it loose, or is this a guy that needs to get rid of the ball quickly? Um, the biggest priority, the most important thing in throwing for us is accuracy. Without accuracy, without putting the ball low and on the right-hand side of second base, we're hurting our chances drastically no matter how hard the ball is thrown and the other aspects that are involved. But so accuracy is king. We actually do a thing with we have this little mini hockey net with a gong that's hanging inside the hockey net, and when the player hits the gong, it makes obviously a loud sound. So we're always trying to miss low, and we're always trying to miss right. And that's also something involved with middle infielders, just kind of leaking up that side of the infield as well for to help us out. But as far as stances go, it's another trial and error piece. I mean, it's get back there and move. Get into left knee down and switch out of it and see how it feels. Get into right knee down and switch out of it and how it feels. Get into right knee down and just throw out of it. Get into a sprinter stance, throw out of it, and see what kind of what those guys. Oftentimes, when you give them the freedom, they're going to resort to what's comfortable for them and what they like better. So, if the first couple times we go out and throw in spring training and we say, "Hey, man, you do you." You're gonna be able to tell pretty quickly what guys feel comfortable with, and then from there you can start to implement or add those adjustments. Maybe this guy loves to throw out a left knee down, but it's not very consistent. His body's not in control. It's not giving him a good chance at throwing anybody out. Hey man, let's look at some alternative options for you that could help you. Whether that means let's try to get out of left knee down. Let's try to switch out of it, whether that's a hop or just like a pull the leg up type of move, or hey man, let's look at right knee down, let's look at sprinter stance, let's look at some other options as well. So those guys oftentimes will tell you kind of what they're good at, and you can aid that process of kind of just guiding them in the right direction towards that.
Do you guys use any technology on the actual throw itself? So like using a Rapsodo or a TrackMan or something to actually see the spin or anything on the throws?
We use TrackMan, more so for basically electronic pop times, and arm velo. Because the arm velo's another piece that's important. But that's about the extent of what we do. Honestly, we do a ton of like the Pop Time app and visual aids as well, setting up screens for accuracy and other things like that. But um, we don't do the electronic piece a ton. I mean, when we have Hawkeye data, it's always good to look at, and then TrackMan data as well. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's like a staple.
Well, dude, this has been awesome. If you've listened to all our last segment, it's called Baseball Bites. It's brought to you by Black Bear Diner. We ask everybody where their favorite place to eat is along their baseball journey. So whether it was growing up, college, along the pro ball trail, give me one, or not everybody asks for a couple. So give me one or two places that pop into your head.
First place that pops into my head is Uchi, Japanese food. It's kind of like high-end sashimi, sushi. There's one in Scottsdale, Arizona. There's two in Austin. Absolutely fantastic, and I can't say I live in Austin if I didn't say Terry Black's barbecue, some of the best barbecue I've ever had. I'm gonna throw in one more barbecue place in Austin, Interstellar Barbecue. Absolutely fantastic, unreal. If you come to Austin, you gotta go to one of those 2 spots.
I love it. I'm gonna have to come check it out.
Let's go.
I appreciate you jumping on, man. That was awesome diving into so much detail. Thanks for taking the time and wish you best of luck this year.
Absolutely, thanks so much for having me, man, I really enjoyed it, and best of luck to you as well. Thanks, guys.
Hope you enjoyed nerding out with us today. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe on all major platforms. We'll be here every other week talking about the greatest position in all of sports. Take care.